In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what I would do if I had to start over and rebuild my business from scratch. It won't be pretty, but it will work, and I know this because these are the exact same things that I did when I was first getting started to help get me to where I am today, which is here, in this chair. Joking aside, these are the steps that I took to build a number of different and very profitable businesses over the last 10 years, and I want to show you exactly what I did so you can do the same. So, let's get to it. Alright, so if I was starting over completely from scratch, the very first thing that I would do is get a job. Now, I appreciate this may be a very unpopular opinion. After all, there's a lot of gurus out there saying to just follow your passion and follow your dreams and work on it all the time. But the reality is that you're gonna need some money for food and housing. Transportation. This is why the very first thing I would do if I had to start completely over is get a job. Pretty much any job. Now, ideally I would find one in an area that interested me with perhaps a flexible schedule if that was a possibility, or something that would give me at least the mental ability or the freedom after work to work on my project, work on my business. And this is exactly what I did when I was first starting my own business. Very first thing I did is I went out and I got a job at my friend's running shoe store selling running shoes. Here's the thing. To everybody on the outside, even to my friends and family on the inside, well, I looked like I had completely lost my mind because I just left a very high-paying corporate job in order to go out and start my own business. But I had a dream and I had a goal, and I knew that this was a necessary step to help me achieve it. All right, the next thing that I would do if I was starting over is I would completely trim the fat and all of the non-essentials from my life, both financially as well as time and energy. Basically, what this would look like is going out there and having a very real and very candid conversation with my friends and family that, well, they shouldn't expect to see a whole lot of me over the next 90 days. And probably longer. I would also cut all of my unnecessary expenses so I could focus and really make sure that I was putting all of the money back into my growth and my education, as well as my business. Now, when I did this with my own life, I might have trimmed the fat just a little too hard. Was a little aggressive with it. Basically, we completely downsized, lived in a tiny rented apartment, and I worked pretty much around the clock from my kitchen counter because we didn't even have a kitchen table. I also constantly put in 16, sometimes 18-hour days, and I did that 7 days a week for months and months on end. Full disclosure, it was actually years on end, but in hindsight, that was probably a little excessive and unnecessary, and highlights a bit of a problem with workaholism. But it worked, and can't really argue with results. All right, the next thing that I would do is mine my assets and essentially take a very careful inventory of all of the things that I had, both tangible and intangible, that I could use to further my development. The first thing I would do is make a list of all of my skills, all of the talents that I had, all of the experiences that I had, basically anything that I was good at an above average level. After that, I'd make a list of all my contacts, my friends, my family, my colleagues, anyone I knew that knew someone I knew or wanted to know. Basically just a long list of people. I'd also make a list of anything else I could think of that would help me, whether it was a book that I'd read, a course that I remembered, an opportunity that might arise. The goal here is to get creative and to be exhaustive with your list, essentially compiling everything at your fingertips so you can look over it and really take an objective view of what you've got going for you. Once I had everything laid out in front of me, the next thing I would do is pick something. Now, I appreciate that's not very strategic or scientific, but the reality is you need to get started. You need to take action, knowing full well that you're going to pivot and adjust and adapt your course and evolve over your progression. So what I would do is I would line up all of my skills and all of my interests, as well as all of the areas that my research or my conversations with friends and family and colleagues and things like that have uncovered that there's some kind of need or some kind of problem or some kind of desire out there that I might be able to help with. For example, when I first got started in marketing, well, I had no idea what marketing was about, but I figured that online was probably a pretty safe place to start. So I started learning all about building websites. After building a few websites, I came to the very obvious realization that a very fancy and pretty looking website really wasn't going to do anybody any good if nobody could find it. So that led me to learning about SEO, or search engine optimization. Once I got a taste of high rankings with SEO, well, it made me want more attention and more eyeballs on my businesses as well as the websites I build. So I started learning about social media marketing, and then content marketing, and then email marketing, and then advertising, and on it went. Constantly evolving and constantly changing over the years, with where I'm at now looking very different than where I was 10 years ago. But it never would have happened, and I never would have got here had I not taken that first step. All right, the next thing that I would do if I had to start over completely from scratch is I would work for free. Now, for some reason, the advice to work for free is controversial and relatively polarizing, with some people getting really offended that someone would even suggest ever working for free and not truly knowing and appreciating your true value. The problem with this, however, is that you, as a person, have a ton of value. You're amazing. People like you. But to the marketplace, as someone without the skills or experience or portfolio of success behind them, well, just not that valuable yet. And that's okay. We all start somewhere. But the point is to be realistic and to acknowledge that fact, and to understand that the way to become valuable is by doing some work. And the best way to get somebody to trust you and give you the opportunity is to charge very little or nothing at all. Basically, if I was starting over, I'd be looking for people that I could help with whatever it is that I was doing in exchange for testimonials, for some social proof, and hopefully for a referral as well. Looking back, I built a number of websites for free before I ever charged. And then the first time that I did SEO or tried to rank a website, well, I did that for cheap or free in a lot of cases too. My first Facebook ad client ever paid me $100, and I had to drive to their office, do a 1-hour meeting, had to take all the notes, drive back home, build the entire campaign, optimize it for a month, drive back to their office, present a report, and so on and so forth. I probably made around $2 an hour for that job, but I don't regret it a bit because I needed the experience and the testimonials and the referrals, and it built and it grew and evolved from there. All right, the next thing that I would do, starting completely over from scratch, is I would focus aggressively on sales. Now, this might come as a bit of a surprise from a marketing strategist and somebody who really prides themselves on essentially getting their marketing to do most of, if not all of, the heavy lifting for you. This is because after 10 years of consulting with other businesses and having worked with over 800 different clients from different markets and businesses and industries, I can confidently say that if you're in startup mode or your business is doing less than, let's say, $10,000 a month, your number one focus and priority needs to be on making more sales. What this means is prioritizing making hard and direct offers, essentially saying, I have a solution, do you have a problem that I could help solve for you in exchange for money? Now, obviously, you're gonna make it a little nicer than that, but that's the basics of it. Content marketing, advertising, email marketing, starting a podcast, all of those other things are going to be relatively useless, or at least not nearly as effective without a really dialed in offer and without some cash flow coming in. Plus, a lot of these marketing strategies, like let's say content marketing or building up an email list, well, they can take time, or running ads, which can take money. This is why in those early days, you need to try to make as many sales as possible. And this means, in most cases, getting face-to-face with someone, because there's no more effective form of sales than having a face-to-face conversation with someone, trying to understand what problems they have that you may be positioned to solve. If you can't get face-to-face, that's all right, you can use the phone. And if you can't use the phone, well, try video calls. And if you can't do video calls, well, I'm gonna argue that you probably could, because after that, well, you've got text messages and emails and direct mail, and all of those start to fall more under the marketing umbrella than the direct sales. When I first got started, doing face-to-face selling was awkward and uncomfortable. I pretty much hated every minute of it. However, it worked, and it allowed me to then start creating more marketing and more of the strategies that I actually wanted to do. All right, the next thing that I would do if I had to start completely over from scratch is I would take a look at all of the different things that I could help someone solve and would really try to focus on something with a higher value and therefore a higher associated price tag. My goal here would be to try to sell something for around $1,000 a month, because this would mean I only needed to get 10 different clients in order to hit $10,000 a month. Plus, it's usually a whole lot easier to sell 10 things at $1,000 a month than it is to sell 1,000 things at $10 a month. Once I had my 10 clients at $1,000 each a month, giving me $10,000 in revenue, well, this would open up more doors and allow me to then start using my content marketing, my video marketing, my email marketing, running ads, hiring team members, doing whatever else I wanted to scale to whatever level I wanted to. This is why when I started my marketing agency and after I'd had my first few free clients or $100 a month clients, I very quickly transitioned to $500 a month packages, and from there to $1,000 a month packages. And then once I had a few more clients there, it was to $2,000, and then $3,000, and so on and so forth. The key here is to try to become irreplaceable to your clients, to solve their biggest problems and try to really over-deliver, especially in the early days when you need to make sure that you're retaining and maintaining them for as long as humanly possible so your business stays alive. All right, the next thing that I would do if I was starting completely over is study like an absolute crazy person. Now, when it comes to studying, whatever it is that you're offering, whatever kind of business you're creating, well, you've got a number of different resources and tools and assets available to you, but you really can't argue with the return on investment available from good old-fashioned books. Pound for pound, books just have the most information and the most advice and the most strategies you could ever hope to get for how much they cost. I mean, think about it. A book costs, let's say, $10, maybe $20, and you're getting someone's entire lifetime's worth of experiences and mistakes and lessons and strategies. This is why, starting over, I would read anything and everything I could get my hands on in relation to my business and to my customers and to my field, and I would be putting aside at least 1 to 2 hours every single day. In fact, this strategy is so effective, it's something I still do to this day, studying for at least 1 to 2 hours every single day, 7 days a week. And I have for about 10 years now. There's no need to go out there and make all of the mistakes on your own when you could just learn from other people's mistakes, know what to do, and more importantly, what to avoid. Ultimately, this is going to save you a ton of time, a ton of money, and a ton of heartache. And once I had all those pieces in place, the very next thing I would do is start marketing like a crazy person. And by crazy person, I don't mean crazy. I mean aggressive and offensive. And by offensive, I don't mean offensive, I mean aggressive. Is this making sense? My point here is that at this stage, I'd start actively prioritizing my marketing, making sure that it was at the forefront of everything I do, and really carving out time each and every single day to focus not just on my clients and their results, but on my business and my ability to get in front of even more of my ideal clients. You see, at this point, you'll have a solid foundation, solid footing. You'll have some clients, you'll have some revenue coming in, so it only makes sense to start to focus on yourself so you don't always have to be going out there doing face-to-face selling. Now, of course, when it comes to marketing, there are a nearly infinite amount of opportunities and choices and platforms and tools and tactics and technologies for you to choose from. So I'd focus here. Content marketing. Content marketing, year after year, time after time, day after day, just simply proves to be one of the single most effective forms of marketing available. And if you really get down to it, well, pretty much all marketing is content marketing. This is why it's important to understand your clients as well as your solution and understand how you can match these up and then communicate that through whatever content form best aligns with you and your market. If this means creating short posts on Instagram is going to work for you, then do that. If you're up for creating videos on YouTube, awesome, it's a great platform. But if you hate video and find that all your people are on LinkedIn, that's okay. Then just go there, write some articles and engage in groups. The reality is that marketing is ultimately going to be the single most important element to your business's long-term success. But it needs to be built on solid fundamentals and foundational marketing principles. And this is why the next thing you're going to want to do is check out the video I have linked up right here on Introduction to Marketing. So make sure to check that out now, and I'll see you in the next episode. Marketing helps people solve their problems by clearly defining and delivering solutions and really explaining the benefits of those solutions so they can get better results.